Hello and welcome everybody to Merlini's Mailbag episode 10. And the question I got this week was about support Naga. And here's the question. Dear Merlini, in my group of friends I often play the support role. Although I play traditional supports, lately I've been trying out different heroes and their capabilities of supporting. In competitive, Naga Siren has been used as a support, I assume because of her strong ultimate and physical ensnare. How can I play support Naga effectively? What items should I build, as well as what skill progression do I use? Regular Riptide build, early pushing with illusions, etc. And just to make it a bit more open-ended, what other heroes can be utilized as a strong support that aren't typically seen as one? Thanks. So I'm going to answer the question first, which is about Naga Siren and the skill build. So generally you want one level in mirror images just to take off debuffs such as open wounds or many other debuffs that are dispellable by splitting. And you either want to max Riptide or max Ensnare depending on the situation. If they have a Naix, usually you want to max Ensnare because the net will pretty much nullify his rage effect and keep them in place. And you always want to get your ultimate at level 6. For items, and these aren't just specific to support Naga, these are just support heroes in general. Your core items are generally Arcane, Mech, and Magic Wand. And situationally, you can get Medallion, Veil of Discord, Vladimir's Offering, or Urn of Shadows. Always depends. Medallion's very nice if you have additional minus armor abilities such as Riptide or Alchemist Acid Spray. Veil is nice if you have like a THD or Zeus on your team, etc., etc. So the strengths of support Naga Siren are that her physical ensnare goes through BKB and Rage. So this is actually very, very useful versus Naix, versus like an Enigma who has BKB and you want to stop their hole. Before Enigma gets BKB, you can usually use your ultimate to cancel the black hole. And once an Enigma gets BKB, physical ensnare is one of the very few ways to cancel Enigma's black hole through BKB. And her ultimate can be used to counter initiate, and this is great against such heroes as Shaker, Magnus with reverse polarity, Tidehunter with Ravage. It's just great for setting up fights and saving your team. You can also set up wombo combos. This was mostly seen at TI2, where a lot of people would set up with Naga Siren, walk in the middle of all 5 opponents with your sleep, and then vacuum into a huge black hole. And this hasn't been as common because of recent nerfs. You can't actually vacuum invulnerable heroes anymore, but you can still set up some pretty nice combos with Naga Siren. And she's also a great scouter. A lot of people neglect the fact that mirror images makes 3 images of you, and you can send those all around the map to scout out your opponents. So why would you ever play unconventional support such as Naga Siren? Firstly, it has been successfully used in Captain's Mode at the highest level of play, and I'll talk about this later, but Malice has recently popularized the use of support Alchemist. Well, I wouldn't say popularized, but they've definitely beaten some very, very good teams with their support Alchemist. It is also very useful when the hero selection is limited. If you're playing all random or single draft, sometimes you can only work with 10, 15 heroes, and you usually need a support to win the game. It adds variety and fun to the game for you and your allies because it's always fun to win with a support Naga. You're like, oh, nice. You don't have to play this in a very cookie cutter, Manta, Diffusal, Butterfly Heart kind of Naga build. You can have some fun with Arcane Mech and win while you're at it. It can also be used as a surprise factor for your opponents because usually people don't expect support Naga, support Troll Warlord, support Alchemist, and it's a fun way to throw off your opponents. So this brings us to the idea that some heroes can be used as unconventional supports, and I'll give 4 examples aside from the one already given, which was Naga Siren. And the first one I wanted to talk about is Sven. Sven used to be a tier 1 pick in competitive play, but after a few nerfs, he's actually fallen from a tier 1 pick, and he's very situationally used. His contribution to the team, reliable AoE setup stun, and an AoE move speed and armor buff, both of which are quite significant, 12% move speed and 12 armor at level 4 Warcry. So as far as build goes for a support Sven, you'd want to max stun Warcry, and you want to roam early to secure farm for your carries, and you usually want to do this with a partner, such as Alina or Leshrac, anyone with a setup follow-up stun that's generally fairly difficult to hit, would be a great partner for you. And later on, you can catch up by farming Ancient stacks with his Great Cleave and God Strength. The second hero is Cuca. Many people focus on massive Tidebringer crits, but his other 3 spells do not actually scale with items. He's actually very, very mana intensive. Boat Torrent at level 6 already takes 270 mana, and for a strength hero, that is a lot. So Arcane Boots are very useful on him. His contribution to the team: AoE disable and slow, although not as reliable as Sven's stun. An AoE stun in the form of Ghost Ship. AoE damage mitigation. The Ghost Ship damage mitigation is actually very, very crucial in teamfights, and a lot of people neglect this part of Cuca's spell set. And he has great initiation and chase ability with X marks a spot against non-BKB heroes. So as far as playstyle goes, you want to max Torrent with at least 2 points in X. Once you get 2 points in X, you can just X and then immediately cast Torrent after it, and it'll almost always hit. You do sometimes want to level up X though, just because of the cast range. And roam early, try and pick up some early kills, and you can also catch up later using Ancient stacking and farming, similar to Sven. The next hero is Troll Warlord. He's also quite mana intensive, contrary to popular belief. His double whirling axes ranged in melee form, as well as his ultimate, 75 mana on a 20-second cooldown. You tend to run out of mana on him, and arcanes are actually pretty useful as well. Contribution to the team: AoE blind, AoE slow, huge attack speed buff for all allied heroes, ability to stun lock a single target, and you can do this even without items, because you can still have huge, massive attack speed even without any items. You don't even need treads. As far as playstyle and skill build, you want to max axes and melee form, because generally you won't have that much uptime with fervor. And you want to aim for early towers with his ultimate and an early Roshan, because you can often stun lock Roshan and you always have his battle trance to take him down even faster. And the last hero I want to talk about is Alchemist. And again, Mal's Alex is the support player for one of the support players for Mal's, and they've used Alchemist to great effect recently. And you can see by his items that it's not a typical carry farmy Alchemist. He has Magic Wand, Mech, Medallion, Observer Wards, and TP Scroll and Treads. Alchemist is actually a fluffy hero. By fluffy, I mean he has a very high HP but very little armor. And this actually makes him very tanky to magical damage, although he is slightly vulnerable to physical damage because of his low armor. He has natural HP and mana regen through his ultimate Chemical Rage, so you don't actually need Tranquils or Arcanes. His contribution to the team: AoE minus armor debuff and DOT, as well as a fairly reliable AoE stun. And you want to generally max stun and acid spray, because you won't be getting that many creeps with Grievel's Greed. You want to roam early with stun, preferably with a partner, and you want to use acid spray as a zoning tool in early team fights, because it actually does significant amounts of damage early and it's a huge AoE. And you can also use it to defend towers. So these are the 4 heroes that I gave as examples, along with Naga Siren, but don't limit yourselves to these 5 heroes. My team, Yes Tidehunters, actually used Support Huskar in the viewer tournament the other day. And again, don't be limited to these 5 heroes. Try other things out, and maybe you'll find a new strategy for some random support heroes. But thanks everybody for watching. This will conclude Merlini's Mailbag episode 10, and if you like my videos, please subscribe to me at youtube.com/merlinidota. Thanks.